Today we have Pallavi Banwal, intimacy coach and founder of a sexual wellness startup called Get Intimacy. Not many can actually boldly talk about it, which is sexless marriages. 5 years I had been in a sexless marriage, and I thought, okay, this is it. I discovered some magazines, from my neighbors inside the mattress. I felt ashamed while I was feeding my baby because the other moment my husband is sucking my breast. It's like either you have to be Sunny Leone or you have to be Helen or you have to be Mother India. Majority of sexless couples, I see they have a kid. How the kid came into the place if the sexless marriage? Why do you think people stay in sexless marriages? What are some of the reasons that makes them stay? Very unique story. The woman, her friend catches her husband on a Tinder profile. I'm horny, so I'm expecting you also to be horny. How important is sex in a relationship? Do you really think a couple can go without it and just say that, everything's fine? Sex also has different seasons like winter, autumn, rainy, summer. Sex also goes through seasons. This one beautiful technique which was said that when you are entering her, enter millimeter by millimeter. Hello and welcome to Stories with Maya Zamma. Today we have Pallavi Banwal, intimacy coach and founder of a sexual wellness startup called Get Intimacy. Thank you for joining us, Pallavi.
Thank you, Swati, for having me here.
Yeah, she's one of those very few people whom I know in the sexual wellness industry. So not many colleagues in this now.
Yeah,
it's like a
yeah.
sort of very isolated, lonely field,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, very upcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, would like to know all about how you got into it. But today's topic is going to be super interesting and kind of a unique topic. Not many can actually boldly talk about it, which is sexless marriages. Now, I'm sure everyone who is married get what I'm trying to say, because there are bouts of these phases in their lives where I would say they don't have physical intimacy. But again, there are couples that are in that space for a long period of time also. Some couples figure it out, some couples are struggling. Of course, majority would be obviously struggling. But Pallavi is somebody who had this experience for herself. She has had the lived experience of being in a sexless marriage, and that somehow I think got her into this field also, right? So before getting into your story, please tell us how you got into this whole weird, strange field of sexual health.
Swati, I always tell people that if someone would have asked me in class 10th, what do you want to become? I would have never thought for the life of mine that I want to become a sex coach. That word would not come out of my mouth as a girl growing in a small town. Despite that, I'm here talking about sex. And in
Small town means, where are you actually from?
Bihar.
Bihar, okay.
Yeah. Very conservative society and small town. But I think the experiences where, whether you are talking about sex or not, sex is a part of your life. Like I remember growing up I was in 7th class and my father was taking the car and I saw this bold poster of Urmila from Rangila. So that was like a bold poster. And as a child, I was looking at it and I was like curious, and then I knew something is wrong. Like there is this unsaid silence, there is this unsaid discomfort that all of us knew even when we were growing up, and I was a part of that. I discovered some magazines, from my neighbors inside the mattress, and they were like this big pictures of like big, women, large boobs, and men doing something, and I could not make out like what is this. So all that went through. I think through my own sources, through those columns where they put questions, I remember in my hostel time, there was a time when all the girls will sit on the bed and we will take out that magazine and we'll read out all questions. And I was like, okay, my seniors are going to, bless me with all the education that I never had.
Okay.
So I think that tits and bits was what I grew up with, and then I became sexually active. But I think I never knew. It was mostly for me, my sex life was an autopilot. Like I would let whatever things were happening to me, and it would mostly for the boy I was with my boyfriend who would just guide me, or I will follow through. And I know all about sex is, I know that some, touching and then followed by intercourse, like not in the nuance that I know now what sex is. And I still remember my first sexual experience. It was so awkward. Like, they always make out like first time sex, and because we are not empowered enough. I remember my boyfriend, me, we were in college and we booked a resort. Like, 4 of us went, and it was the first time. And the next time, I was barely able to walk because. No one told him, I did not know what is lube, or no one told him that it's okay if the intercourse doesn't happen, you can leave it. Like, we were like, okay, it has to happen.
Okay, pressured and forced into getting it done.
Yeah, unconsciously I was also forcing myself that no, it has to happen. Somehow it has to happen. No one said that, it has to be comfortable. It has to happen and you have to go through that discomfort, and that's okay, because no one told me the otherwise information that.
Yeah.
And I think I just took it like, okay, fine, everything was fine. And then in the same slew of events, I got married. And before marriage, I told my parents that should I disclose that, I had a relationship. And because I wanted to kind of disclose the truth, that because in arranged marriages, that's one major expectation people have, is the wife should be virgin. So I knew that I had those expectations, and I was far away from virgin. I had 2 relationships, sexually active relationships. So for me, it was a big moral burden that I have to pretend that this is, because that's an expectation.
Yeah.
And they said, if you are going to tell them, no one is going to marry you.
Okay.
So I remember on my wedding night, my whole focus was on how do I pretend to be a virgin. Like, it should not come across as like I am sexually experienced. So I was like, yeah, yes, it's,
I don't know, I'm this innocent girl. Oh my God.
Oh God, I still remember like what all plays into the mind of a young woman who is not educated and who is just conditioned about sex. So I think that went, and then somewhere was not ready for the challenges that marriage brings, which I think a lot of couples will relate to, because they enter the marriage with this honeymoon expectation and fairy tale expectation, and then things happen and in-laws happen and a lot of things happen, and I started drifting away from my husband. My mother told me that the immediate remedy is get a child. So within a year of marriage, year and a half of marriage, I had a baby, like living baby, including 9 months of gestation period. I became pregnant in 5
Immediately.
months. Yes, 5 months. And that was the reason that they said that bring a baby, it will increase the love between 2 of you. And I still remember that day when I conceived my baby, because and that, like, at that moment when he was having an intercourse, I was like, God, not again, give me the baby. I don't want to go through this again. I want the baby. And I will be like going back and forth between my journey as a woman and as a sex coach, where I see women who stop having sex after kids, because somewhere that's on the agenda, like I have to go through this to have this, which is baby. And baby is a big thing in Indian society. You end up, seen
Living
as
your life for the baby.
Yeah.
Suddenly everything else just gets into the background, right?
Yeah. And women, they primarily bear the burden of like not being able to have a baby. So I was also going through that. But then after that, I was clear. Thankfully, to my education, I did not go through my wifely duties. I said I can't get intimate, but I could not say that. So what I did was I would make my baby sleep in between me and my husband.
Okay.
And I used that as a barrier, as a shield to just avoid getting intimate with my husband. I knew that, but I could never express it because you never talk about sex. And 5 years went like that. 5 years I had been in a sexless marriage, and I thought, okay, this is it. We are great at adapting, so I just adapted. Like, it's okay, I'm sexless. I instead diverted all my energies into the baby and my work.
Okay.
Became a workaholic.
Okay.
But there was some dissatisfaction, some restlessness was always there, coped up with food. So I think from there, and then, that was like a little unconventional story when we had a physical distance because he was at some other place and I was also deciding to coming out of this marriage, it's not working. And then I met someone. And then I found that I'm still alive sexually. Like,
Okay.
I could, it's not like it's dead. It's dead for this person because of so many issues which I could not articulate. Like it's dead because of this reason. It's dead. And then it got alive. But I still could not know why it is alive. But that increased my interest because I wanted to write. So I started writing. I created an anonymous blog where I would write my experiences. I was into a full-time job. So I thought if I write with my name, I'm going to be suspended or terminated, because that's like sex is a bold topic. You can talk about religion, you can talk about yoga, you can talk about nutrition, politics. But if you talk about sex, there can be consequences. That's what I believed in workplace. And I think I got a lot of stories. People were DMing me and they were seeking help. And I was like, I am just writing. I don't know anything what to tell you. I'm not this, I can't advise just like that.
It was back in the days when blogging and all was famous.
Yes. So I felt like somewhere I started taking it as like, there were so many messages that people were sending. There was a woman, she would, not happy with the husband, slept with her friend, and she was now, trigger warning, suicidal about it. And she was seeking some kind of validation from me, that what I'm doing is, tell me, is it right or wrong? So they seek validation, and then I realized like I need to do something about it. I started gaining interest, and I saw that there are problems. These problems are behind the curtains. There are many problems. I think one reason I have stayed on this field is the problems I get from people. That like, okay, if you leave, who are these people going to reach out to? That's something that's kept me here on this space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how slowly you just did your courses and got into it.
Yeah.
How is the field treating you?
I think it's rewarding. I also see challenges as rewards, but definitely rewards as one of the front runners to talk about this subject. And not, there is a typical, I will say, stereotypical representation of women. It's like either you have to be Sunny Leone, or you have to be Helen, or you have to be Mother India. I thought I will be like bold, but in the sari, as I think sari statement was their sexy sari statement. So I think that I wanted to create my own niche and help break those stereotypes that, I am not bold in the convention, that I'm not exposing, like people think, okay, if a woman is sexually bold, she has to show a lot of skin. And I like saris, I like, a family, I like marriage, I like kids, I'm an introvert, a vegetarian, like all these things, typical things, and I like to talk about sex. So I think that's where I could, people found me relatable because they never had such representation in the society. So I think initially I was quite bold because I did not know, there is no formal education, there's just sexology, which is all about biology. So I started penning my experiences, and I think that attracted a lot of male crowd because they thought if a woman is boldly talking about it, till date I get a lot of DMs, this physically objectifying, but
like she's available, she's free. If she's talking about sex, then she's a loose character.
On the other hand, there are people who, someone said that, I said how people they don't accept their problems. They said, you talk about it, you will make them realize that they have problems. And that is what is happening. When I put up a reel, when I put up a content, they go through it and then realize, oh, this is hitting me. Yes. So for example, when I was in a sexless marriage, if I would have seen someone talking about their sexless marriage, that I am not getting intimate with my husband, it might have, but there was no conversation at that time.
I think that's one good thing about social media these days, that you don't feel alone. There is a person representing all kinds of bodies. There is somebody representing some kind of story, some kind of trauma. So you sort of feel like you're not alone in this journey.
True.
So Pallavi, coming back to the topic of today, which is sexless marriages, what are some of the reasons why marriages become sexless over a period of time?
This is strange, Swati, because marriage is something you can finally have sex with society's approval after getting married. This is so
contradictory, no?
It's quite ironical that people get married to have sex, because you can have sex, you can finally stay with one person in a room, close the door, and no one is going to say anything to you, and you can spend the night, and yet you are doing nothing in that bedroom. So, and you are being like strangers. I can just share some stories that how sexless marriage happens. One is that I feel there is a lot of women, what I see is throughout their growing up years or younger years, they are grown as like, okay, you are desexualized, you are asexual, you are pious, you are cover yourself up, don't talk about it. And suddenly when you get married, you have a boy who is good with masturbation. All the boys, irrespective of like in their 12, 13, 14, they have somehow, while that's the natures, I will say, bias or difference, that men are very used to their genitals compared to women. Maybe because when they hold their penis while peeing, so they automatically get in touch with that sexual part of them. And then one day they discover that, oh, touching this gives me joy. And then they explore, and then, but women have no such way to explore their sexuality. So I feel that in an arranged marriage or any kind of a marriage, I feel there is a power imbalance when it comes to knowing one's sexuality between a man and a woman in a heterosexual marriage.
Absolutely.
So a woman is relatively at a lesser level, along with period shame and boob shame and whatnot.
The slut shaming that happens.
Yeah. And now this man is all trained by porn. He's ready to, and you know what, I call it as a masturbatory model of sex. Like what he's doing is, this action, he's doing that just inside a woman's vagina. And she goes through it. And I like this statement in Kama Sutra. They say that if you give a bad experience to a woman in her first night, she will be turned off from you for the rest of her life. And I feel like our ancients were way more wiser when it comes to sex. And I think that's where they go through it. They know something is wrong. They cannot articulate what is wrong. Like I said in my case, I did not know, but my body was repelling. Like you talk about somatics. You know how body rejects.
Right.
So that rejection starts happening, and I think the child is I'll say the final nail in the coffin of sex life of a couple. So once the child happens, the agenda is fulfilled. Like now, no one is going to call me a banj, or no one is going to call me that you can't have a baby.
Have a kid,
you are like society all tick
Mission
marks.
accomplished.
Mission accomplished. I see, majority of sexless couples, I see they have a kid. How the kid came into the place if the sexless marriage? It just happens after that. So. And then the husband also, he just labels her as sexless. She is sexless. She is not interested in sex. So for straight labeling happens to the woman that she is sexless. And there it just ends. And that avoidance starts happening like once and twice. And then it's such a sensitive matter. I mean, sex is complicated, I will say. The act of getting naked and letting the other person touch your body. And there is a past also, like if there is unpleasant past, there are unpleasant memories. All of that come in that moment of intimacy.
But it is not just the man and the woman and their bodies that are coming together. It's a lot of childhood trauma. So many things can be brought into the bedroom.
Yes. I remember this particular story of a woman. I went to the baby shower. So that was the baby shower of my friend, and I went there.
Okay.
And she said, I've kept you as a surprise package because I will reveal everyone that you are a sex coach. At that time, I was like, fine. All ladies gathering, and I was sitting. And the moment she revealed who I am, everyone had their questions. And there was this one young woman, she would be like 33, 34, and she said that, one day she has a toddler, like 1.5 years, and she would make that toddler sleep on the edge. And one day they were having sex, and suddenly the toddler woke up asking for milk. And she said, in that moment, I felt ashamed while I was feeding my baby, because the other moment my husband is sucking my breast, and now my baby is, that conflict of motherhood and sexy wife
Very
is
morally conflicting space to be in.
Yeah, like mothers are asexualized. Mothers are not seen as sexy. So the moment a woman becomes a mother, and I have seen in many cases men, there are a lot of women, I've seen, it's not like a woman is sexless. There are a lot of women who have great sex drive. The husbands are not interested, and they say after having a kid, the husband has stopped desiring me. So I also feel for men to to accept that a woman can be like a little here and there, and that she does not have to be adhering to the conventional sexy image. Because I see a lot of times when men DM me, lot of them are married men, and they do go through Instagram profiles and see hot women, and that hotness is seen as sexiness. So I do wonder that there is a reason where a lot of men lose interest in their wives, in terms of they are okay with her being sexy but not okay with the rest of the problems in her life. You have to integrate.
Yeah.
You have to integrate.
Yeah, and this men not being interested is something. Whenever I had these discussions in my workshops, unmarried women found it very surprising, because we are also fed this notion that somehow men are always interested no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's pretty surprising to them that after marriage there can be men who are also aversive, also stressful about the day's work, and they're like, no, I just want to sleep. Maybe the woman is interested, they are not okay. Maybe like you said, after becoming a mom, they are suddenly not okay. So this is pretty surprising to unmarried women sometimes.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, Pallavi, why do you think people stay in sexless marriages? What are some of the reasons that make them stay?
Of course, the society, and still, quote unquote, a woman still goes through that feeling that she can't survive alone in the society. She needs a man's shoulder to cry on, or even for the survival. Like there is, there is evident sexual assault in the society. All the cases, Kolkata case, Nirbhaya, it's all around. So somewhere,
very scary.
Yeah, implicitly a woman has this fear that she can be assaulted. At least a man is there to protect her. Yesterday I was coming from the cab, and my husband said, I will drop you to the airport because you are going alone in the cab. That fear every woman has. To leave a man, I think the biggest reason is safety and security, financial safety. Even if she is earning enough, the couple goes to a certain lifestyle which they cannot maintain on their own. I remember this unique story. It was from Indore, a small city. Very unique story. The woman, her friend catches her husband on a Tinder profile.
Okay.
Yeah. So the friend informs the woman that I saw your husband on Tinder. She creates a profile, and then she finds out that he's on that, and she was filled with rage, and she said, I will take revenge. And then she went on to have lot of affairs because she felt my husband cheated, and the husband was not having sex with her for 2 years.
Okay.
And he was on a dating profile. And I said that, and she was quite conflicted about this whole situation. I said, why don't you leave? She said, I can't leave that lifestyle. I still feel that she was honest in talking about it, that because marriage is not just about love. Marriage is so much more than love. It is about security. It is about support system. I think what they see is, and unfortunately they trivialize sex. They don't know how important sex is. Mostly this man, like I've seen men also talking like, she is giving me everything, just this part is missing, where he can go on a dating app for that. So
it's not seen as a big enough issue to let go of the marriage. Is that so?
Yeah, it's not seen as a big enough issue, but it is a big enough issue because it's not letting you at peace also. You are not at peace. You are searching, you are finding some other outlets for, expressing your sexual urges, or so they don't understand that it's not trivial. If I think the biggest problem with sexless marriages is they think why we have so many IVF centers. No one sees not having a baby as trivial. Why the process that leads to a baby is seen as a trivial.
Yeah. Again, I also get to hear these stories that they've never been sexual because of some reason. They lose attraction to each other, or some reason, maybe even vaginismus for that matter, and then they somehow need a baby, so they go for IVF. So people who have not even had sexual intercourse are going for IVF just for the sake of the baby. That was also very prevalent these days.
Yes, true. I do agree. And again, I think sexless marriages also because the kind of sex that is happening, for that a man is doing. All these men, in fact, yesterday on a women's group, I asked that there is a pleasure gap survey done by one of the sex toy companies that said that there is a 81% women are dissatisfied in bedrooms. 81%. That's a huge number. It's like almost everyone, bearing. So I asked women, what do you think? So they said that men think they know it all. And which is also, I find, even when I take sessions, by and large, men come up with this approach that I know everything, now you help me fix. There is some problem with her. they are not ready to accept that they don't know it all, and their sources are like porn is big time, they think whatever is like all action oriented, excitement, performance, high adrenaline, and they just think they see woman as another man. They don't see woman as another, like it's proven that a woman's body, she needs to be physically warmed, she needs to be emotionally warmed. They just expect, like there was this lady, she said my husband, when we would get married, he would just be with his mother for an hour or two in his in her bedroom, and he will just like massage her legs.
Okay.
And 12 a.m. he's coming and he thinks I should be ready to have sex.
Okay, I'm horny, so I'm expecting you also to be horny. Okay.
Yeah, so they don't have these notions of time, that a body can get tired, or she can have her hormonal changes. That nuance and complexity is missing. It's like straightforward, men, okay, I can get aroused at the click of a switch, and they expect the woman also to get aroused at a click of a switch, which doesn't happen. It's a difference.
Yeah, I guess that's where again, Pallavi, when me and CV had the conversation on cycles also, how important it is for us to understand what part of the cycle we are in, whether we are actually in the mood for it, whether we are not in it, because latter part of the luteal phase and all, nobody wants to have sex, right? So, I mean, we should also know that, certain days of the follicular phase, of course, the days of ovulation. Again, women are also not keeping track of that, I feel. Let alone men not being able to understand women. If women themselves cannot understand themselves and their bodies, we cannot simply blame men and point fingers at them also. So I think that beautiful communication between each other, definitely. Number 2, connection with our own bodies is also, I think, very important. No?
True. Yeah, they are even now, if a woman is, she can be bold, and she can be, sensual, and she can be expressive, but she is at risk of being termed as a slut, or as a indecent woman, or overtly sexual woman. So I think that's where a lot of women shy away from that, because they know if I am like this, people will judge me, because they have seen other women who are like this being judged.
Yeah. Okay, Pallavi, so we all know that sex is a biological need and everything, but I would like to still hear from you, how important is sex in a relationship? Do you really think a couple can go without it and just say that, everything's fine, this part is not there, but still we are living? I'm sure there can be couples like that, no? I don't know, you have to tell me from your experience. Do you have any more experiences to share on how important sex is for life?
See, I heard this sex therapist, she quoted that by and large people think that they are sexless, but that's rare that people are sexless. Majority of the cases, one person wants and the other person doesn't want.
Okay.
So sex is vitally important. I can't even say how important it is, because it is so important. First of all, it is the bonding mechanism. There was a evolutionary, there was this research done where they said that they saw that men and women, for the survival of the human baby, the men and the women, the couple bond, when they were having sex, they were together, and the baby had a better chances of survival compared to babies where the mother and father, they drifted after having a baby. So there was this research which was quoted, and that showed that sex is a bonding behavior in humans, because unlike animals who have a heat season, human beings can have sex any time in the year. We don't have a heat period, which means we have sex by choice. It's not like you are getting horny and you have to, like, this is my period, finish it off. Yes, animals, they don't have such thinking around that. For them, it's just happening. But for humans, they can choose when to have, how to have. So it is, number 1, a bonding mechanism between a couple. A couple who stops having sex, and when they are sexual, they become roommates. It's like you are best friends, you are roommates, but you are not romantic lovers. Romance involves making out, coming together, lot of flirting, teasing. I have had sexless couples telling me that they can't sit together to watch a romantic movie, because the moment the actor and the actress are making out and kissing each other, they become uncomfortable.
Yeah. Can you think of any vulnerable moments that men have shared, considering you do work with men?
A lot. actually, if you see in the society also, we have labeled men as creepy, lusty creatures, beings who just want sex. Like lot of women, this is what the men told me, that their wives tell me, that all you have in your mind is sex. But they don't understand that what is this sex. For a man, it is easier to express through her body than the words. Like women are more
Verbal.
yeah, fluent and proficient when it comes to expressing emotions and affection through words. For a man, he expresses those emotions through his body. So when he is desiring sex from his partner, he is desiring intimacy. But unfortunately, we don't. I remember this one case where there was this woman. She is a sexless partner, and she came for help. And I said, "Can you recall if your parents are sexual or not?" And she said, "I get uncomfortable thinking about it."
Yeah. To be very honest, we cannot imagine older people being. We suddenly think that everything will stop after 50, 60, right? That sort of subconscious belief is there, I guess, a limiting
Yeah.
belief or something.
I had this intern in my school, there was this intern, she was working with me, and she talked about one particular incident in her school, that they had this biology chapter where they explained, they got to know what is sex. It was in 9th class.
Okay.
And one of her classmates, she ran out of the classroom, and she was running and weeping, and everyone came to her and asked, and she said, "How can my parents do this?"
Okay.
So it's like dirty act and all that, and that's where the at least sex is sanctified when it comes to having a baby, which is where it is acceptable. But after that, it's just urges, it's just a release, and you just want a release, you just want to release your semen, all those things they have, but they
But
don't.
what have men shared personally?
Yeah, so there's this man, he said that my wife again, sexless, 10 years sexless marriage, and
10 years?
10 years sexless marriage.
Okay.
And one day, and he's loyal, he said that I could not think of cheating on her. I could not, I could not. She even said that if you want to go out, you can go out and satisfy yourself, but he could not. He was loyal to her and he loves her. And one day he said, I could not take it any longer. I went into my room, closed the door, and I cried because I did not even get a hug for 10 years.
Okay.
And that also even jolted me because a man crying still is seen as like a man
Obviously,
cried, and
yeah.
they think that lack of sex can make a man cry, because yes, it is that important and emotional experience and part of life.
Yeah, true. Pallavi, now that we are getting to the last end of the conversation, two important questions I have. One is, there are couples that are in a committed relationship now, dating each other, might get married, might not get married, but they are in a relationship, and if there is a potential for marriage, is there something that they can do or prepare themselves with right away, information or resources or anything, so that they don't end up in the situation?
Yes, because what happens is, I can tell you, while I was coming from the airport, I saw there was this couple, and newly married, because the bride had this mehendi, and you could make out that this is a newly married couple on their honeymoon. They were all cozy, and then I was wondering that inevitably, or every couple, even a sexless couple's marriage, they start with full intense romance and physical intimacy, and somewhere it gets lost. And what happens? I think because they see sex as something which is effortless, which is you are already in the mood, you are ready, you don't have to get ready, you are in the mood, and it just happens. This is what they show in films, that no one talks about mood making, like how to make a mood. The mood is ready and you have it. And that phase has a shelf life.
Yeah.
Passion has a shelf life. Once they settle into a long-term committed relationship, there is a coolness that comes in. But we think sex is hot.
Yeah.
And we have
Should
no...
just happen.
Yeah, we have no idea of how sex can be cool. And yes, there can be a cool sex, which is what I teach in my sessions, that how you can have a relaxed lovemaking. But what they think is sex is about excitement, and that excitement has to keep building up until it reaches the climax or peak. So they are looking for that peak version of sex, and once they settle into life, they get into arguments, they understand, oh, this person I've married is not a Prince Charming or not a Princess Cinderella. He is a real human being with lot of imperfections. They cannot take that truth, and they think, okay, this fairy tale bubble has burst. So you need to understand that how to go through different seasons of sex. Sex also has different seasons, like winter, autumn, rainy, summer. Sex also goes through seasons, but they have this one.
It should be summer all year long.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, that sort of understanding can help them be prepared for it, so that they
Prepared,
take enough
changes.
efforts and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, what if a couple is already going through this? Do you have any words of advice, comments, suggestions?
I do. So I say that make sex more personalized for you. You know, a lot of times we go by what should be in the sex. We go by some external model of reference that you have to have this kind of a foreplay followed by this, and you push yourself through that box, that you have to fit into that box.
That
which
template.
Is,
Yeah.
template, performance based. Like, you know, I have to perform. The lady has to perform for a partner. The partner has to perform and please each other rather than being each other. Sex becomes so much of doing than being. You know, I say be in sex, be in the moment. There was this beautiful book on food habits. They talk about that how to derive the nourishment from food, and they talked about 7 metabolic enhancers, out of which 2, which I feel is so related to sex. The 2 are relaxation and awareness. So when they say instead of stuffing and eating quickly, if you relax yourself, enjoy and have the awareness. Lot of times our awareness is not there. We are simply focused into, am I making him feel good, am I making her feel good, and even the intercourse, it's like, you know, such a mechanical back and forth action. Friction sex, yes, it's like that. So instead, if you slow down, you know, slow down. There was this one beautiful technique which was said that when you are entering her, enter millimeter by millimeter. I love this. I was like, do I even have in this fast-paced model? Because lot of couples also say that lifestyle, stress, increased work hours, you know, all these create so much of challenges because you want to rush. Like, sex has to be rushed and finished and go back, you know, go back to sleep. So one thing I will suggest is schedule a time. Scheduling a time which is like you need to have 2 or 3 hours. You need to know that you are not interrupted by other things, which means you are giving sufficient time for a woman's body to warm up. You know, she's not going through that premature penetration. We talk about premature ejaculation. We should also talk about premature penetration.
Yes.
So she's getting enough time to warm up, and the man is also not nagging because he knows that
There is time.
he's going to get sex. You know, a lot of men are like, when will I get sex? When will I get sex? So he's also not nagging, that he knows that something is coming by. You have that time, and don't go by the performance that it has to clear these 3 checkbox: foreplay, intercourse and orgasm. You go by pleasure, feel each other. It's okay. You know, that goal is so difficult. Like I think one of the sabotaging sex is like they have this goal oriented sex, that sex is goal oriented. Sex has to have a certain outcome, otherwise it's not sex.
True. Because at the end of the day, it's about connection, like you said, connection and intimacy.
Yes, pleasure. Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Pallavi. It was wonderful. I think it takes guts to talk about your personal story like that, and I'm glad that you have made that story into who you are today. And I'm glad that you're helping a lot of people with all this information and knowledge, because we need people in this field also to guide others. Like so many people approach me and ask, do I take these kind of classes? I'm like, no, I'm not into adult sexuality oriented classes, though I have like basics of it. Please go to Pallavi. She has the techniques and the tips and the tricks of the trade with her. So thank you so much, Pallavi, for this beautiful conversation. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation and learned a thing or two. I will see you in a lot more conversations with Pallavi. There are so many things about porn and masturbation and casual sex and so many things that I want to talk to you about. So I will definitely get her back for all of you again. Meanwhile, please look into what all she mentioned. I think it all boils down to not learning about sex from porn and creating your own template for it, and being mindful about what you're doing. That awareness and consciousness is very important, so that you don't really speed up and finish it off somehow, because you need to, especially to the men, we do understand that it's very important, everything. It's again important for women also, maybe on a different scale maybe. If you can take some time and effort to understand how her arousal works, how her body works, etc. Women also, if you can take that initiative to understand yourself, your cycles, when you are turned on, when you are not, and clearly communicating that. And if the couple can really prioritize sex, I would say maybe things will shift a lot. So all the best to all of you. I'm sending a lot of love and healing vibes to everybody. I'll see you all in another conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.